Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here and sort of talk through some of the things that we've been talking to employers about for the last year. We did travel around the state twice in the last year to talk about the Affordable Care Act, and we talked to about 950 employers last October, and we've talked to about between 1,500 and 1,600 just this past June. So there's a lot of interest out there, a lot of people trying to understand what the implications are for them. The countdown is on. There is 35 business days, I believe it is, left until open enrollment begins. So I think the question is, are you ready for what's coming? Are your employees ready? And so we're going to kind of step through a few of those things fairly quickly. I'm going to go rather rapidly on some of the early slides and maybe slow down for some of the more immediate implications. So first off, just to kind of refresh on the key provisions, hopefully everybody in the room has had an opportunity to hear at least one talk on ACA and sort of the implications for employers as well as individuals, because keeping in mind that the individuals are affected as well. We're here as a group of employer groups, but the individual mandate affects every single American, either directly or indirectly, based on what type of coverage they have, because in the end, they all have to have coverage, and there are tax and financial penalty implications if they don't. $95 per individual in 2014, as high as $695 or greater in 2016. So now you're starting to talk about real money. So some of the key things, we have benefit and cost sharing standards that we're dealing with. There are 10 categories. Some of the new ones are the pediatric, dental, and vision. Those will apply to new small group and individual products in the non-grandfathered market, as we call them. These plans will be designed around a metal tier leveling, which I'll talk about. And of course, grandfathered plans are exempt from this, and I'll touch on that in just a moment. Of course, public exchanges is what we've all heard about in terms of how those will be delivered to the public, and so individuals will be able to purchase coverage on the individual exchanges and potentially be eligible for subsidies, and small businesses may have options through the shop. Again, we'll hear more about that later. Consumer subsidies, very important feature. If your household income is less than 400% of federal poverty, you could be eligible for a income indexed premium subsidy. And if your income at the household level is less than 250% of federal poverty level, in addition, you could be eligible for some cost-sharing reductions, which has implications to the actual product itself. There'll be less out-of-pocket expenses. And of course, the employer mandate was something that was we heard a lot about. A lot of large employers with 50 or more full-time equivalents were very interested and concerned about this. Last month, there was a delay, and so the enforcement of that particular provision has been delayed until 2015. We expect more information coming out on some of the reporting requirements, which was one of the reasons given why we're going to delay that. So there are some implications. Now you've got the individual mandate is out of sync with the employer mandate. So there could be some issues that maybe come up in terms of employer-based coverage and whether individuals are eligible for subsidies and so on, and what will be the what decisions will employers make as they approach 2015 that could have some implications for people that have gone out and purchased coverage through the exchanges in the meantime. Okay, so as far as the key benefit provisions, we know that any new groups or individuals and then non-grandfathered products will be affected. And so they're going to be placed on these metallic products, or the precious metals. I've got a little slide on that in a moment. There are specific pools that they will be rated, which they'll basically all be rated together in a giant rating pool. And those can be adjusted for geography, age, and tobacco. So we will have a tobacco user adjustment factor in our individual products, but not in our small group. And so the process of rating will change for non-grandfathered groups. And that tends to be how we think about our employer customers, because the implications are different. These products need to have a 60% minimum actuarial value, which simply means think of it like a 60-40 coinsurance product. It needs to be at least that good. And so we're showing that and telling groups whether or not they meet those benefit standards. And then also meet the essential health benefits, which is those 10 categories that I mentioned. The rating rules, which are that your highest age and your lowest age cannot vary by more than 3-to-1 ratio. Okay, so that, with our rating process, we've been pretty close to that for quite some time. And so there won't be a huge change for us, but it does expand from groups of 50 to 100 in 2016. So if you think you're a large group today, and outside of this requirement in 2016, if you're a group of 75, you could be brought into that process. And of course, grandfathered plans are exempt. Now, when the regulation was initially passed, if you like your health care coverage today, you can keep it. That was a promise made, and so we offered that to our customers and said, we're going to go ahead and commit to letting you keep your current coverage in effect. And we had approximately 75% of our small group fully insured business. They took us up on that. And so we modified our computer systems and our products. We kept them in place. And basically, we've held those products constant since 2010. And a lot of employers that we've been talking to would like to maintain their grandfathered status, but they recognize that there may be some financial increases in costs that may prohibit them from doing that permanently. You can see there some of the things that you really can't change, things around plan design, the out-of-pocket expenses, as well as contributions. So this is an important factor for a lot of groups as they think about their future benefit strategy. Now, when it comes to exchanges, this is one that, of course, is right in front of us. They're going to be opening up for business on October 1st. It's an online marketplace where individuals and small groups can purchase coverage within their own respective states. And so there will be 50 unique exchanges plus District of Columbia. Some of them are administered at a federal level, such as North Dakota, and others are administered in a state, for example, such as Minnesota. From a product standpoint, as I mentioned, individual and small group. Individuals could be eligible for subsidies if they don't have employer-sponsored coverage. We have approximately, I think it's 19 products on the individual exchange, and then in the shop exchange, we have 15 products which will be offered out there. And there is a small employer tax credit, which Mike is going to touch on a little bit later. We also are in the process of expanding Medicaid eligibility up to 138% of the federal poverty level, which is it's 100% today. And we are in the process of responding to an RFP to move that ahead on January 1st. Here's those metallic products that I mentioned. The relative rates are 60, 70, 80, and 90%, and you can see the precious metals there. There's also a catastrophic plan that for the young under 30, I can call them young, that will be available as well. So we've designed products around each one of those, and we're going to be offering those shortly. Now, a little bit on the subsidy itself. This graph looks a little bit complicated. Look across the bottom, you can see the household federal poverty level. That's really what the gauge is in terms of what your potential subsidy is. The example here shows an estimated individual premium of just under $5,000, $4,942. And what that squiggly green line represents is the premium cap, the maximum that you will pay based on your household income. So depending on whether you've got a single person or you've got a household, all of those things will have implications. And the individual household income at 100% of federal poverty is $11,490 for 2013. And for a family of four, it's about $22,000 and some change. And you can see it ranges from 2% of income all the way up to 9.5%. And so this is really what will be happening on the exchanges as individuals make application. If they don't have employer-sponsored coverage that's affordable, they will be able to go out there, report estimated income for 2014, The government will use that basically in the form of a mini tax return, pre-tax return, I'll call it, and they will use that to estimate your FPL, which in turn, based on the product you select, will determine what your subsidy is. And it's based on the second lowest silver plan, cost silver plan on the exchange. And you can see there's additional cost sharing implications. Your out-of-pocket expense is reduced for households below 250% and Native Americans for less than 300% of federal poverty. So a lot of details around this slide. I don't have time to really get into them in too much detail, but keep in mind that FPL and those things will drive. Here's an example. I think I'll skip over this one. Take a look at that. It just shows the implications for an individual versus a household. I think one thing just to point out here is that individuals will not be eligible for a subsidy in the marketplace if they have affordable coverage through their employer. Okay, that's going to be a big sort of an aha moment, I think, for everybody this fall, because and affordability is defined as if your portion of the premium is less than 9.5%, and it's the single premium of your household income. Okay, if you need family coverage, it's still based on single premium. So that's a very important detail. We've been talking at length about that to make sure that employers understand that, because we do believe that as October approaches, and if you have individuals that have family coverage requirements, they may be interested in the exchanges and thinking they might be able to get some additional help. Okay. All right. What would be a presentation without the cost implications? I'm not going to read this, but just know that there's three major taxes and fees that we've been pointing out to employers. The PCORI fee, which funds the research for effectiveness of healthcare services. That is $1 per member per year through October of this year. And then it increases to $2, and then it's inflation indexed after that. And that's due as an excise tax by July 31st of every year. Transitional reinsurance fee is significantly greater. That is $63 per member per year, but that is a 3-year tax that starts in 2014. It's once a year. It equates to about $5.25. And then the final one is a health insurance fee, which is a fixed cost across the country that's applied across all fully insured individuals. And we think that one's worth about 1.4% to premiums. Overall, the taxes and fees are approximately 6% going forward in terms of what has been added to these non-grandfathered products. So it is not insignificant, but as I mentioned, the transitional reinsurance fee goes away. The insurance exchange notification, I've got a slide on that, and then there are some upcoming information reporting requirements which employers will have to work through. So in the end, we think that as we approach the end of the year, employers have got some of the same kinds of decisions that they've had before, which is whether should I maintain my current plan or modify it, go from grandfathered to non-grandfathered. Should I be looking at self-funding? We've lowered the threshold to 26 in terms of level of self-funding and filed some stop-loss products to try and accommodate that. We've also are looking at defined contribution, where if an employer wants to look at multiple products to have a private exchange, to operate in an off-exchange world, but to still get the advantages. And then finally, should we just discontinue coverage and send the employees to the marketplace? I think that's been a question. We've done some financial modeling for employers. In general, for large employers with the penalties that will be coming, it doesn't make sense financially when you include corporate taxes and so on. Smaller groups that don't have the $2,000 penalty, sometimes it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, sort of to the immediate, as we look ahead to 2014, we've got a renewal right in front of us, and we know there's a lot of questions. And so, of course, the first and foremost thing is, what if I renew my existing non-grandfathered product today? I'm a small employer, less than 50. What is it going to look like? How's it going to work? Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to be mapping their current non-grandfathered product. We've had to make a few changes to the plan design to accommodate the essential health benefits, as well as include some of those taxes and fees and make sure we've got the rating rules set up. we need to deliver that notice to you as non-grandfathered groups by the end of next month. So that's 35 days from now. And if you notice the red star in the chart, this example, it's a classic blue 1000 plan. The minimum or the actuarial value is 85.9, which is where the red star is. The ranges for the products need to be within those percentages. So for example, we can't sell an 85.9% actuarial value product. It needs to be between 88 and 92 or 78 and 82. So we're going to offer some alternatives represented by the green and yellow stars. If an employer wants to go to the closest one, they can choose that product, or if they want to choose a less expensive product in the gold or silver range, those options will be available. So the account representatives will kind of step them through that process. In terms of the rates themselves, in the past we have done composite rates, which simply means that if you're a single SPD or family coverage, it would be a single rate that's billed out to everyone. In the future, under the ACA, the rules change so that we will actually be billing individual age level rates. And so you can see in this example, here's a family of 5. You've got the parents at 41 and 51, and then you've got a 21-year-old and 2 under age 20 dependents. So those roll up to $543.70, but think of the next employee might be a single person who's 41. They would be billed $130.20. So the billings get a little bit more age defined. We are going to calculate what those composite rates will look like potentially at the beginning of the year, because we understand that you as employers need to make a decision about contribution strategy and how much will my employee pay in terms of their portion. So those are some things we're working through with folks as well. The other thing that's immediate for employers is the marketplace notifications. Those need to be sent out by October 1st, basically informing employees, all employees, including those not covered under the benefit plan, of the marketplaces and some of the options available to them. So as we kind of sort of wrap things up, one of the things we've been talking to people about is go out on healthcare.gov and sort of step through this. You don't need to be an expert on how the subsidies and the marketplace work, but your employees may be going through this process. And it becomes much more heightened in terms of what are their plan options, whether it's Medicaid on the low end of income, maybe their Medicare, employer marketplace, the employer plan or the marketplace. All of those things potentially could be options for your employees going forward. And so we think it's important to have an understanding of that and to really understand how the process works. And then finally, transition-wise, we just think of this as, sometimes it helps to put it back in the context of a standard renewal. What are my options? What are the costs? Let's move forward. So those are my remarks. I'm going to turn it over to Chuck then, or Paul first, and then we'll move along.